Holy Welcome players of all ages, races, and subclasses. My name is Roland, and welcome back to Critical Moments, the show where we look at the top moments and discuss the latest episode of Critical Roland. Oh my gosh, huge episode, gigantic episode of the whole for the first campaign, and it's definitely going to be one of those I think we look back years to come. So spoilers before we get into anything. So if you haven't seen it, please go watch the episode. Come back. Alright, and with that spoiler warning out of the way, let's get into it. We pick up this week where our adventurers were in the middle of trying to figure out the nefarious deeds of what Danis was up to, and Imogen and Bertrand taking off to go track her down and find her, and eventually figuring out where she was and gathering the rest of the group and their shenanigans in the warehouse and discovering who she was meeting or where they were meeting, and uncover a new enemy, have a small victory and an even greater loss at the end of the episode. But for this episode, we are going to have 10 moments. The last three, the biggest three, are all going to be talked together at once or all together, since a lot happened and a lot needs to be discussed. So when we get there, we'll discuss it. But starting us off at number 10, and probably the perpetual first moment we always talk about, is Sam's ad. This episode is sponsored by Hit Point Press, and to start off, Sam reveals a Tarrasque that they have. It's huge, a huge, beautiful mini that I feel like I need in my life. It's probably ridiculously expensive, but gorgeous, and the whole cast, Matt specifically even says he wants to keep the mini, which I don't blame him, it's amazing. But then getting into the actual ad that Sam does, he roped Marisha and Robbie in, and basically they were talking about his very first ad they did during the premiere, how he did the whole musical number, and saying how everyone kind of remembers it differently in the very sitcom-esque flashbacks. Sam remembers it, everyone absolutely loving it, these thunderous cheers. Marisha remembers making fun of him and her making a joke and everyone laughing at her, with her at Sam. And then Robbie, well, let's just kind of take a look at what Robbie, remembered it as.
Huh? What? Oh, well, thank you for that polite applause.
It was a so-so bit.
I guess so. Robbie! Oh my God, you saved me! You saved my life from an assassin attack!
It's all in a day's work.
Oh, Robbie, you are the sexiest person alive.
Yep, that's how I remember it.
Definitely the most outlandish of the three, but so glad that Robbie fully joined in on the ad this week, and another good job. Great job, Sam. Great job, Marisha. Great job, Robbie. Moment number 9, we have Imogen and Bertrand, the beautiful tag team, pursuing Danis, and having these two together was very, very funny. Laura and Travis, being husband and wife, played off each other very, very well. And first off, Bertrand was making fun of Imogen when they were trying to be covert and undercover, calling him by his actual name, and then she's like, oh, Barry, and he's like, even the same letter? You couldn't even think of a different letter. And so that was funny. And then Bertrand suggests that Danis is invisible, and Imogen goes along with it. So they suggest they walk towards the booth, towards the table, wildly swinging their arms in hopes of knocking into Danis, because even if Danis was invisible, she would see these two wildly swinging their arms, and just a silly moment of them trying to be good detectives and figure out what was happening with Danis, and not doing the best job, but eventually, getting the job done. Moment number 8 is when they've all regrouped and they've gone to pursue Danis, and they figured out what room Danis is in, and how they're meeting with someone and they hear that Danis is about to be attacked. So they're trying to break in. Orm tries to break in, Ashton tries to break in, and once again, doors are the enemy. We saw mainly with Vox Machina how every time they kind of roll to try to break doors down, they always stop them. Doors was the first campaign, Chairs was in campaign 2, and looks like Doors are back with a vengeance, stopping the crew from trying to complete their objective. Moment number 7 is our third fight of the campaign. We've had a fight every single episode, so this is the third one. very well this time. It's happening in the hotel room against our unknown antagonist and a bunch of what we find out to be called shade creepers. Laudna and Imogen thought they were called shadow creepers, but just didn't remember it very well. But we got to see more of their abilities. We are essentially got a confirmation that Laudna is a shadow sorcerer because she thinks she has the ability to create darkness with sorcery points, but that's a 3rd level sorcerer ability and she's only 1 level in sorcerer. Once again, we get to see Ashton's rage abilities with Dunamancy kind of have these blue and red alternate selves of him doing different actions and describing it in a very, very cool way. We find out with Fresh Cut Grass that his ability where he absorbs some of the damage from another player and has temporary HP, he can actually dump that temporary HP as damage onto another enemy he hits, which really, really cool. I hope that Matt releases at least some sort of preview to both Sam's and Talison's subclasses that he's created for them, because I'm so interested in them. We also get to see Fern do a wild shape into a constrictor snake, and also gets the how do you want to do this while swallowing the shade creeper and it exploding in her belly. So overall, another fun, good fight, getting to see them all in action. And a top moment within this moment is when Bertrand runs into the darkness, swings wildly and hits Dorian, moves out of his range, and Dorian uses that to make an opportunity attack, and the description of the backhand that he gives him is hilarious.
Fine, I just want to unarmed strike, try to open palm him
Do it.
somewhere.
Do it.
Fuck you, 3.
I'll give you advantage. I'm giving you advantage.
Come on!
Ah, 15.
Macy's 14!
Let's go!
Crack. The red hot pain on your cheek as you just get the biggest backhand you've gotten a few backhands in your time, but this one shakes the room. Just like we're talking anime fight scene quiet after this. Everyone in the room just goes, even though just like.
Moment number 6 is the wrap up at the end of the battle. First part of this is that when the guards are kind of rushing up to kind of see what's going on because they've been fighting and making all this noise, Imogen grabs Dorian and kind of unbuttons both their clothing a little bit, and they both pretend that they've just been having a little too much adult fun, and that's what all the noise was, and successfully deceive the guard and even make him blush by asking him if he wants to join in and be their third, which, like, once again, the guard blushes. And while this is happening, they're kind of cleaning up the scene a little bit, but pour the poor corpse of Danis up into just some sort of cloth or just they have, and make it a sack at the end of Ashton's hammer, just kind of like a hobo stick, even says, and just kind of carries him through the streets on the way to Lord Estros. And poor Danis, like, that's just kind of, I mean, they had to do it, but a little sad, honestly, for them. Moment number 5 is Lord Esteros. We actually get to see some more quote-unquote humanity in him. We see him as more of an actual person and character rather than just some patron, some boss they have. He made a cake for them, in order to celebrate their completion of the first mission, and just this more softness to him, which was very nice. It helps build these layers upon who their new patron is and how they're officially in contract with him. And he asked them, or Matt asked them, for their official name. They don't have one yet, but they're gonna, by next episode or 2, we're gonna have a new name we're going to call them. So I wonder how close, if it's gonna. Mighty Nine was a little bit of a pun. Vox Machina was a little more, regal and impressive, like a actual group of adventurers. So let's see where on that scale their new name is gonna fall. Moment number 4 is the celebration and the calm before the storm. Essentially, they all gather together and they're celebrating, and Bertrand is kind of paying for everything and enjoying their first victory together as a team. And this is when things started going bad. Bertrand was even saying how it's nice to be back up on top again, and how, never to regret the small moments and be happy. And when this was happening, if I showed you my notes, I would even be like, oh no, what's happening? Why does this sound like Bertrand's not gonna make it? And well, let's get into episode moments 3, 2, and 1, the big moments of this episode. And so these top 3 moments of the episode and currently of the entire campaign are: 1, Imogen getting her dreams and seeing kind of what's happening at the exact same time. 2, we have a face, or not a face, but a physical presence, a main antagonist of what we thought was the Ivory Syndicate, but Lord Esteros doesn't think that anymore, but the dwarf that they've been fighting this whole episode. And number 1 being Bertrand Bell's death. Matt did post on Twitter how Travis kind of wanted a character to come a little bit later on in the campaign, but didn't want to exclude him. So they both knew Bertrand was a temporary character, and many of us, myself included, suspected that he wasn't the main character since he was level 5. He was an older character that Travis has already played. So we were all kind of wondering what was going to happen. And so I didn't think they were going to kill him off. I thought that Bertrand was just going to be a quest giver and and Lord Esteros was going to have him go do something else. But no, they killed him off. Travis didn't know what was going to happen specifically, and he left that up to Matt, and Matt completely surprised him, surprised us. I didn't expect him to go so quickly, and he was just cornered in an alley after being well drunk, and the dwarf, who's a rogue, has some sort of rogue levels or rogue abilities, and took him out with two attacks, and there goes our Bertrand Bell. The other surprising thing was before this happened, since Matt obviously orchestrated this moment, tells Imogen that she's getting this dream where she's dreaming she's back home in the field, and where she lives on some sort of farm with her horses and everything's fine. And then the minute Bertrand dies, the horizon in the sky becomes all red, and there's lightning and there's a storm brewing. And as this happens, the entire set turns this shade of red, and behind Matt you see the storm just brewing, and it looks like it's actually happening in the room. And we've seen how the set can change, but this is the first time I think we can see it in full action, and it really amped up the situation. And Imogen sees, or Matt describes, this older man walking into the storm, we assume is Bertrand. And so how does she know this? Since we believe she's an aberrant mind sorcerer, is it just because she's kind of connected to all the minds in the city, especially those she's close with? So is that how she knows Bertrand died at that moment, or is there something else at play? And an amazing moment, and sad at the same time, just seeing both of these two instances happen at the same time. And way to go, Matt, way to go, Travis, to orchestrate this moment. And poor Laura, and not only that, poor Dorian. Dorian was trying to stop Bertrand from walking off by himself, and even trying to lead him upstairs, but at the end lets him goes off by himself. And I just can't imagine the guilt that is going to rack Dorian going forward. And as we discussed, the Lord Esteros wants a name for their group, and he even joked around saying something about being Bertrand something. They all immediately were like, no, definitely not Bertrand related. But after this moment, they're more than likely, I feel like they're going to have Bertrand or Bell incorporated into their name. I saw a couple people have said like Hell's Bells or the Bel Airs or even Bertrand's Bells. So we'll see. I believe they're probably going to incorporate Bertrand Bell in some way, even if it's in some small way, and it's going to be part of their name because it's a big moment. And one last thing, or what Travis said was the last thing Bertrand says, is Liev'tel, which was one of the Liam's character that he played in the one shot for the Search for Grog and the Search for Bob, and they had a relationship, or at least hooked up at least at some point, and that was the last thing. And so in my mind, I would hope this is what happened in the last moments of Bertrand's life.
As Bertrand feels the last of his essence slip away, he looks up into the moonlight and whispers, Liev'tel. As he says this, his vision begins to darken, but the moonlight begins to take shape. Pointed ears and a chiseled, beautiful face of an elf woman are formed, dressed in an all-black priestess outfit. She extends her hand. She tries to hold her composure, but Bertrand notices a single tear form and slowly roll down her cheek. Well, if I had known death was as beautiful, I would have died a long time ago, Liev'tel, Bertrand says. Oh, you old charmer, Bertrand. You just had to be a hero once more. Can't blame you. I never did meet anyone else quite like you. Guess that's why I fancied you so much. I wish I could do more, but the least I can do is introduce you to an old friend. As she says this, a figure emerges wearing black leather armor, a feathered mantle, an elegant blackened leather raven face mask, and a cross between cordyceps fungi and bones spirals up and out of the shoulder. He extends his hand and says, Bertrand Bell, member of Vox Machina and hero of Exandria. Welcome. The matron beckons us and eagerly awaits to hear of your adventure and all accomplishments. Bertrand looks back one last time at Liev'tel. Thank you for everything. She gives him one last kiss before letting him go. We shall see each other again, but until that time comes, the world will never forget the name of Sir Bertrand Bell.
There we go, guys. Those are the top moments for this episode, and I've been thinking about them constantly since the episode. And please tell me your thoughts about what happened and any future predictions and theories, and what do you think Travis's character is going to be going forward? I would like to see Travis play a paladin, a full paladin, because we haven't had anyone main a paladin yet, but he already was partially paladin in the last campaign, so I don't think that's going to happen. One thing I think I could see, which would be fun, would be a rogue, especially since he just got killed by a rogue. I feel like that would be very fitting for his new character to be one. And I think a swashbuckler rogue would be very, very cool for Travis. And if not, if he wants to have some more magic capabilities, I think Bladesinger Wizard would be amazing. I do think Travis, we saw again with Bertrand and with Grog, and I think he missed it a little bit with Ford and still had it, but being a main frontline fighter, and I think once again with Paladin, Rogue, or Bladesinger Wizard, he could kind of accomplish all of these roles. But thank you for watching this episode. Once again, please leave any thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Hit that thumbs up button if you like this video, I'd greatly appreciate it, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm putting these videos out discussing the episode every week, so hit that bell notification if you want to see the moment I post this video. Once again, I know life can be difficult sometimes, but always remember there's someone thinking about you and cares about you. So just like in D&D, sometimes we just gotta pick up those dice and just keep rolling. See you next time.